Uh, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is not the best way to start the live stream. Um, I'm just doing it live. Screw it, we're doing it live. But I wanted to start off. I can't even drink water, man. I wanted to start off by just basically saying everybody is really, really pissed off at Trump. Everybody's pissed off at Trump. We're in one of those cycles where everybody is losing their minds and showing exactly how spoiled we all are in America. Like, I'm actually really, I'm actually shocked, man. Like, that people don't see what's going on. That people don't see that we're just in another cycle. We are in another cycle. But the real reason why things aren't panning out the way that we thought that they were going to pan out is very specific reasons. So I'm going to go through these Fox News videos. I'm going to, these little snippet videos, because they're actually really important. Now, I know that Fox News lies about a lot of stuff, but the one thing that Fox News doesn't really lie about is economics. They don't really lie about the economy too much. When they're lying about the economy, when they'll like hyper focus on something, like if they're talking about AI or something, it's cap. It's a little cap. Things that they don't really know anything about, crypto, things that they know that their audience doesn't necessarily think about. But the other things that they're pretty fairly accurate about is the economy, is about business. And so I check them out, especially Fox Business. I check out very specific shows to see what they're saying, because sometimes the rhetoric is also very important, and then also seeing the other moves that people are making. But I'll tell you guys what my personal feelings and experiences are in terms of the Trump administration, in terms of, where they're going with everything. If you've made it this far, there's 4 minutes on this live stream when it replays that I didn't realize I was actually live. So I'm like, I burped and all this other stuff. I'm just clearing out the instrument, as it were. But we'll get into it. So I want to talk about this. We're going to talk about the economy first, and then we're going to get into like Nick Fuentes and more cultural stuff, because the reality of it is Nick Fuentes has this opportunity to flourish. He's actually really, really shrewd, and most of the politicians can't stand it because this is what they do. Except Nick Fuentes is just taking it to the next level. He's just like ramping it up to the next level. It's political grifting. Nobody wants to believe that's what it is, but it's political grifting. But we're going to get into it in just a second. But let's listen to Kudlow. He's going to talk to Stephen Miller. I think this is very a poignant thing. And then we're going to look at the Laura Ingraham interview and that piece that has everybody so mad that Trump talked about.
Is the great Steve Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, and my old friend. It's not even worth talking about, but the Schumer shutdown, I mean, the whole thing was pointless. It was just a waste of time, caused a lot of angst, chaos everywhere, Steve. Now, that's behind us, okay? I guess my question is, for you all, what's next? What happens next?
Well, I mean, first of all, it was worse than pointless, Larry. It was cruel. It was capricious. It was dangerous. It was radical. It was extreme. The Democrats shut down the government in a failed attempt to extort $1.5 trillion for their pet projects, including, as has long been documented in black and white, full funding for health care for illegal aliens for several hundred billions of dollars. They resulted in, as a consequence of their shutdown, massive flight delays for the American people, huge impacts on public safety, federal workers going without pay, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, not being able to make ends meet. This was a Democrat sabotage of the Trump economy that has brought record prosperity to the American people. The Democrats, as President Trump has said, are acting as kamikaze pilots, trying to hurt America and to hurt Americans solely because they cannot stand how successful this administration has been.
Well, you know what's interesting? The stock market rose throughout this shutdown. I mean, it really is something. And I think the stock market, as I said in my opening riff, is really pointing to a Trump economic boom. Profits are rising beautifully. That's the key. But also the policies coming out, the one big beautiful bill is, first of all, it helps profits, but it helps everything. I mean, business, I think, is really booming, and real wages are starting to rise again. But Steve Miller, I want to ask you just something the president has harped on. I want to hear if it's continuing. Now the shutdown's over, is he going to push for an end to the filibuster? Everybody's asking and sort of talking about that. I don't want that to obscure the good economic and stock market news, but I did want to get your take on it.
Well, yes, he is, of course, because when Democrats take power, if and when that happens, when they control at some point in the future, whenever that is, the House, the Senate, and the White House, what's the first thing they're going to do, Larry? They've advertised it, they've promoted it, they've talked about it, and they've booted two people, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, out of the party for disagreeing with them on it, and that is ending the filibuster. They will end the filibuster. They will pass communist health care. They will abolish private health insurance. They will kick 140 million Americans off of their employer-sponsored health care plans. They will give citizenship and amnesty to every single illegal alien in the country, and millions more to come. They will pack the Supreme Court with 4 or 5 Marxist judges. They will make D.C. and Puerto Rico a state, and that'll be just the beginning of what they do to cement and solidify permanent political power in this country. We all know that's coming. We all understand that's coming. And the best chance that we have to prevent that is to end the filibuster now so that we can pass the full and complete Republican agenda, make it permanent, and deliver secure elections to this country in the form of voter ID and ending once and for all non-citizen voting by requiring proof of citizenship to vote. These are basic fundamental things to having a democracy. But you asked earlier, I need to answer it. What is next for the economic plan for this president?
So before he gets into that, I was really, really on the side of like, ooh, maybe ending the filibuster. That sounds like, a recipe for disaster. But I'm actually, bro, I am so understanding what the Trump initiative is, what he wants to do, what he wants to accomplish. I'm so understanding what the economic mission is, and I understand like what we've just seen. The government shutdown from the Democrats is pure obstruction. It was pure obstruction. There was nothing there. They didn't have a real legitimate reason. So for example, they voted in the big beautiful bill to end the subsidies for Obamacare, but then they want to shut down the government for 40 days to get the subsidies of Obamacare put back into the funding of the, like, bro, the big beautiful bill was written into law. Now you want to go back and change it, hold the whole country hostage over it so that you can have some kind of phony narrative that the Republicans are trying to take your health care. They're trying to raise your health care prices. Bull crap. Everybody knows that this is how Obamacare worked. Obamacare is the last people who are going to feel the ramifications of Obamacare are going to be the people who are on the bottom. Obamacare was specifically engineered and designed to suck money away from the upper middle class, the middle class, the lower middle class, then the working class. Then all of a sudden it would be the welfare, the low class and the welfare people that would start to feel how expensive Obamacare was. We are at that point, and it hasn't even been 10 years. So we're looking at the explosion, the implosion of Obamacare happening in real time. And the Democrats are so desperate to keep this narrative together that Obama was just like this ultimate savior of the people who just only wanted to do good things for everybody. Oh my God. That narrative is falling apart at the seams because it's not sustainable, it's not economical, and it's not affordable. It's the Affordable Care Act that's not affordable. So then they want to hold everybody hostage. It is estimated that the government shutdown for 40 days cost this economy $7 to $15 billion or something like that. I'll get the more accurate numbers, but it's still a rough estimate because they don't really know. The economy that Trump is planning is not an economy like we've seen before. And I will talk about this more in detail later. But the truth of the matter is we've had president after president after president after president that has only wanted to boost the economy in the short term so that their party and they can win elections. We've had presidents that say, how can we juice the economy today? Yeah, we've been giving all the money to the we've been enriching the upper classes through the stock market and through, military industrial complex contracts and all those other things. How do we, now that the election is 6 months away or 4 months away, how do we juice the economy so that we can make everybody think I'm doing a good job and get them to vote for me and my policies? Like George W. Bush, when he said, go out and buy stuff, gave us those $2,000 stimulus checks, go out and buy stuff. Because the sentiment of the people against Bush was so heavy. People, Democrat and Republican alike, couldn't stand George Bush. That's why when Obama got elected, I was like, oh, revolution's been postponed. Because that was the appeasement act. But every president since God knows when, Reagan has been doing the same nonsense of giving people, stimulating the economy for 16 months so that they could get through an election cycle. And then when they leave office, the next president has to figure out a way to juice the economy, come up with their own plan. It's not real. It's not sustainable. Meanwhile, they do all of these deals and these treaties to send all of our work, our assets, our knowledge, our skills overseas. It's called globalization. Trump is doing the reverse globalization process right now. And so it's going to take time. And because we had 4 years of a Biden, whatever the hell that was, where it completely destroyed any semblance of a stable economy that we had, that's what Trump is working with. That's what he's dealing with right now. That's what he has to worry about. And so I'm going to let Stephen Miller continue and talk, and then we're going to get back into it. But that's what's happening. And so when the Democrats shut down the government just to keep the perception of Obama alive, and then to try to stall out Trump's economic mission and plan, that is pure obstructionism. And so I was like, when I first heard about the filibuster thing, I was like, nah, that's crazy land. But then I realized the Democrats are full on bought into a terroristic ideology. They will wreck the economy. They are in full kamikaze mode, as they've said. They don't care. They don't care. They just don't want the other side, the Republicans, to have any kind of power. That's all. That's it.
Focusing relentlessly on affordability. So President Trump's working to bring down the cost of living even more than he already has. So Thanksgiving meals are going to be 25% cheaper. But President Trump is not content with that. He is fighting to bring down the cost of every single consumer and household good. And the tax bill is going to be a huge part of this. Because when we make life more affordable for our companies, for domestic industry, for domestic manufacturing, with 100% expensing, with the largest tax cuts in history, then prices are going to keep coming down. This also involves energy affordability. No president in history has done more, Larry, you know this so well, to make energy more affordable. President Trump is leaning into energy affordability. We are building new pipelines for the first time in the northeastern corridor of this country. You've seen that we have a major pipeline that's moving through, the Nessie pipeline, more to come. And the president is also making nuclear energy, modern, safe, reliable, clean nuclear energy to power the future. He issued 4 historic executive orders on nuclear energy. America will be the center of the nuclear energy renaissance in this country. And one more thing, Larry, AI. America under President Trump is the AI capital of the world. That's bringing in trillions of investment. That's bringing in millions of jobs. That's raising our standard of living. We are at the precipice of one of the great economic periods in the whole history of this country, Larry.
So listen, if you get there first on repealing the filibuster, you can get tax rates down. Both personal and corporate tax could be as low as 15%. And you could get rid of, finally, Obamacare, which is a tremendous failure, and where prices have skyrocketed. I mean, there's a lot of good you can do. I guess the logic is, when I first heard about this, I was very skeptical. But I'm thinking through now. I mean, I've been thinking in the recent days, maybe it is better. Get it done, because they're going to do it. Get there first. And if the policies are good enough and work well enough, Steve Miller, then you know what? People won't want to repeal them. And the Democrats ever take power, they're going to have a hard time. If the stuff works well, people won't want to repeal it. And so that's why I'm kind of thinking, well, I might like this ending the filibuster idea. And with respect to affordability, let me ask you this. Tariffs, $2,000 tariff dividend, is that something the president's going to push hard, or did he say that off the cuff, or what?
No, it is something he's going to push hard as part of his economic plan. With the record revenue that's coming in through tariffs, as we lower corporate taxes, as we lower business taxation, as we lower personal income taxation, we're able to now get more and more revenue through foreign imports to power the Treasury and to be able to give rebates to the American people. It's all part of the America First economic plan. Make America the cheapest, easiest, most effective, most efficient place to do business with the least intrusive regulations, the most affordable energy, the most streamlined permitting process, the greatest emphasis on innovation, and collect revenue from foreign countries that are importing their goods into our country, which will secure our supply chains. That's the Trump plan. That is the Trump American industry revolution. Under his tariff and trade strategy, we have a trade deal with the EU. They're going to bring in $1 trillion of investment. We have a trade deal with Japan. They're bringing in $600 billion of investment. We have a trade deal with Korea. They're bringing in $350 billion of investment, including revitalizing the American shipping industry. What President Trump's doing, and you understand this so well, Larry, he's not just fixing the economic problems of today, though he is, but he's building a secure foundation for the future. He's thinking.
And see, this is what is so challenging for most people to understand, right? And I understand it. It's like even older people. What we've had for the last 30 years or more is just a bunch of presidents because they didn't want to get tied up in Congress. They didn't want to get tied up in the politics. They didn't want to get hit up by K Street and the publicists and every president has to do this delicate dance of working around so many different obstacles. And this is my thing. MAGA, America First people say that they want the America of the 90s back, say they want the America of the 80s back. But in order to do that, you have to break through this enormous. The swamp is just like clogged, man. It's a bunch of gross crap and feces and swamp creatures and all of that, and it's clogged up, and DC has been deliberately clogged up so that nothing flows through it. So it has to go through these middlemen, through these gatekeepers, through these people that claim to be elected officials. Most of them will do whatever it takes if they're told to, if they're paid to, if some lobbying organization comes to them and gives them $20,000 for their next campaign. They want to stay in that position of power. They want the authority. They want to, when they walk into a restaurant in their local community, for everybody to get up and clap and, oh, what a great man you are, and try to shake their hands. These people have the most fragile egos and the most destructive lifestyles. In order to get what we want for America, to get it back to where it was, because you can't do it trying to negotiate with these people. They don't want to negotiate. They don't want to. And so Stephen Miller hit it right on the head. The filibuster, they're going to do it when they get power again. But if we don't do it now, if we don't end the filibuster now, guess what they're going to do? They're going to obstruct all next year. They're going to diminish the strength of Trump's economic policies so that they're not felt all across the board, so that everybody, black, white, pink, brown, blue, doesn't feel them. They're going to try to segment sections of society off so that they can say, look at you, you're getting left behind by Trump and the billionaire class, when that is not what's going on at all. You have to enrich the billionaires, the job creators, the corporations and the industries in order for them to build and create the infrastructure and the jobs that will be fulfilled by people coming through later on down the line. I think that the thing that is happening is that there's so much fear and anxiety over AI. The economy has been such crap for the last 4 years with Biden. They instantly tanked the economy, like instantly tanked the economy, and then propped it up with artificial fake borrowed money. So corporations have this fear and hesitancy to hire, to promote, to train. And so they're like, well, we have this new thing. It's AI. Maybe we can get AI to do all the things that people were doing. But that's not where AI is at yet. It's not at a level, and people aren't all, you have to have people who are not technical, trained in AI to implement and disseminate AI through a large corporation to really truly replace all the jobs that they don't want to hire people for. The $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 jobs that they're like, well, maybe we can get AI to do this. AI will automate a lot of those processes in the next few years, but they're not quite there yet. And so people are feeling this stagnation in the economy because corporations are scared, companies are scared, they're tight because Trump's not doing what, most presidents typically do. Juice the markets, juice the economy, and inject it with a whole bunch of borrowed debt. We're not trying to inject it with borrowed debt. Notice how Trump did not. Now, let's just put it like this. We're always borrowing money from the Fed. That's just a continuous cycle that's always going on. But notice how Trump in their new initiative, he didn't go to Congress and say, I want to, like what Biden did. Biden, the Green New Deal or whatever, that was literally borrowing a bunch of money, having all these senators and congressmen vote to borrow just a crap ton of money from the Federal Reserve and then try to put it into all these industries, when really it just wound up in a bunch of the pockets of nonprofits and phony corporations that claim to be green. Trump has not done that. That is not what he has done. That is not what he has done. He's gone out into the world, gotten foreign investment, and said, let's take this foreign investment and move it through this way. So Trump has tried to do as much as possible to put other people on the hook for the scheme, the proposal, the plan that he wants to implement. So that's number one. Number two is we are at a crossroads where there's going to be a little bit of lag time in trying to create an actual economy, like Stephen Miller said, for the next 20 years versus one for the next 20 months. And so I'm with him because the filibuster, if you get rid of it, you don't need 60 votes. You just can do it with the votes that you have with a majority in the Republicans and the Senate and the Congress. You can just get this stuff through and just hammer it through. And then that way the policies are going. They're there. They're moving. The big, beautiful bill. I mean, God, the amount of time it took for them to push that through just because they had Republicans who were against it, not let alone Democrats. The amount of time it took to get that bill through. We didn't even know if that was going to go through. I mean, geez. So it's important. We don't have a lot of time. If you don't want Trump to have a third term, then we got to get stuff done today. We can't sit here and be concerned about posterity and how things have been done for the last 200 years or something like that. This is unprecedented times. We are infiltrated to such an extent by so many foreign agents, so many foreign, people who don't have America's best interest at heart. And so we have got to move. And so I agree with Stephen Miller on this. So we're going to move on from this. This is the end of the interview here. So we're gonna move on to bigger and better things, shall we? We're gonna move on to our next interview here. Ooh, that's not the one I want. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back. Oh my goodness. I hate how New York does that. Not New York. YouTube does that.
All right, we're back with this.
All right, let's look. This is what I wanted to look at.
Are passing through the Senate tonight. The House votes on a bill to reopen the government. However, the economic toll of the last 42 days will remain, with the CBO office estimating the U.S. has lost as much as $14 billion permanently due to the shutdown. Joining us now is a man who's got to balance our checkbook. He's our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Mr. Secretary, always great to see you.
Brian, good to see you.
How do we handle this type of financial loss, which has nothing to do with the American people, but we're on the hook for it?
Well, Brian, it's the Democrats tried to stop President Trump. They couldn't stop him in the courts. They couldn't stop him with the mainstream media. So they shut down the government. And they've taken the mask off. Ezra Klein in the New York Times yesterday actually said this was never about health care. This was about President Trump and his totalitarianism. So they were willing to cost the government tens of billions of dollars. The economy was in a great place, 3.8% growth last quarter, tracking very well this time. I think we're going to accelerate into 2026, but they've caused a hiccup here.
When you talk about the whole thing from the off-year elections was affordability. That was the words people like Zohran Mamdani used, but their ways of solving that are very different from the way you would do it. So when you look at affordability now and you go grocery shopping, for example, what products are you working on bringing down? We know that certain products are down, certain up. Like, for example, coffee. The president says, I'm going to lower the rates, tariff rates on Brazil and Vietnam and other places to try to bring the price of coffee down. What else are you doing?
Well, it's tough to do a lot of specific things, but I can tell you, Brian, you're going to see some substantial announcements over the next couple of days in terms of things we don't grow here in the United States. Coffee being one of them. Bananas, other fruits, things like that. So that will bring the prices down very quickly. And Brian, we inherited this affordability mess. It was the worst inflation 40, 50 years, one of the worst in the nation's history. And affordability has two components. So there's the price level, and then there is income level. And what happened under Biden was the cumulative inflation, stated inflation, CPI, was 23%. But what happened to working Americans, their basket of goods and services, food, insurance, auto payments, was up in the 30s. So they felt a real gigantic differential there. And what we are going to do is, by bringing back high-paying manufacturing jobs, President Trump is going to do what he did in the first term, and that is for hourly workers and working Americans to have real wage increases. So, Brian, imagine two lines. There is the inflation line. We've got that under control. It's leveled out. That is going to start turning down. Then there's the income line, which under Biden, because...
Well, and see, what he's talking about is super true, right? Just lowering energy costs strengthens the value of the dollar because more oil, more stuff can be purchased with the dollar. So that already is signaling us for a stronger dollar. Now, there's other elements involved that create a weaker dollar and all those things, but what he is talking about is just so key, bro. So let's just let him continue.
The jobs were government jobs. You can't get real wage growth from a government job. Real wages are going to increase, right. And I would expect in the first quarter, second quarter of next year, those two lines are going to cross, and the American people are going to start feeling better. But look, this has been a tough period.
Which you feel like only 9 months in you inherited, but there are people that say the numbers are good on some areas, but I don't feel it. What do you say to those people who say I don't feel it? Be patient?
I say that you are going to feel it, that I was just down in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina on Friday, and this new Boeing plant is opening up. That's 1,000 new jobs that the president has brought back. I went to a rare earths plant up in Sumter, South Carolina, 800 construction jobs, 300 permanent jobs that they think could become 3,000 permanent jobs. And the great part of the story there is those were Caterpillar workers who had been laid off. Thanks to President Trump, a new factory has moved in. So as we bring these trillions of dollars of investment into the U.S., they're all starting to break ground now. And look, I would have loved to be able to snap my fingers, have these facilities going. It takes time. We got the tax bill passed on July 4th, which gives huge incentives to come to the U.S., build your factory, expense it immediately, and create American jobs. And I think 2026 is going to be a blockbuster year.
All right. So for now, be patient. The president yesterday.
Brian, if I make one more point, I'm also the IRS commissioner. So what I can see is that with the president's signature campaign promises, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, auto deductibility of loans if you buy an American car, Americans didn't change their withholding for 2025.
Right.
So we're going to see substantial refunds for working families at the beginning, in the first quarter of 25. They'll change their withholding at the beginning of the year, and that will be a natural, the real wage growth.
So two things the president has thrown out, and I'll just tell you what he said to make it shorter. He said, hey, I'm thinking about $2,000 stimulus checks coming from the tariffs to everybody and 50-year mortgages. First off, on the $2,000 stimulus checks, isn't that like using your overdraft to pay off your credit cards? Or isn't it like, taking money from a credit card and paying off your bills? Do you think that that's the most financially responsible thing to do?
Well, there are a lot of options here. The president's talking about a $2,000 rebate, and that would be for families making less than, say, $100,000.
Have you decided on that yet?
We haven't. We haven't. It's in discussion. But the other thing to think about, Brian, is that what we did with the tax bill is actually financing the president's no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, and the big refunds you're going to see are a result of that. So that's another payment to the American people. And then the other thing you're going to see in the middle of the year are these Trump accounts. Every child born retroactively to January 1, but for the next 3 years, is going to get a $1,000 account that's going to be invested in the U.S. stock market. So that's another $1,000 for working families.
So yesterday, Laura Ingraham aired her interview from a couple of days ago, and they kind of clashed a little on H-1B visas, which you upped the fee to
This is the major part that I want to talk about. So this is kind of like a 2-for-1 video, which is nice for me. I don't have to go and try to find the Laura Ingraham interview.
$1,000. I want you to watch this and tell me what you think.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
We have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people.
I love that part. Hold on 1 second.
Don't have.
With tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
We have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain.
Trump is like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Oh my God, this guy.
Talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
Where do you stand, Mr. Secretary?
Brian, for years, 20, 30 years, we have offshored precision manufacturing jobs. And the president's point here is, we can't snap our fingers and say, you're going to learn how to build ships overnight. We want to bring semiconductor industry back to the U.S. There are going to be big facilities in Arizona. So I think the president's vision here is to bring in overseas workers where these jobs went.
Who have skills.
Who have the skills, 3, 5, 7 years to train the U.S. workers. Then they can go home. The U.S. workers fully take over.
So do you understand the concern that people have? Hey, an American could have that job. Why you give it to a guy from India?
But an American can't have that job.
So it's specific skills.
Because we haven't built ships in the U.S. for years. We haven't built semiconductors. So this idea of overseas partners coming in, teaching American workers, then returning home, that's a home run.
Gotcha. Mr. Secretary, thank you.
And he's 100% correct. And this is why everybody's mad at Trump, and it's for no reason whatsoever. It's like, if you actually thought about the way the economy works and what Trump is actually trying to produce, he's trying to make America super strong 10, 20 years in the future. This is a legacy play, man. Trump is a generational political figure. probably a once-in-a-lifetime political figure. Why would he engage in politics, policy, and economics like a fly-by-night president? He's going to do once-in-a-lifetime revolutionary change in America. And so that takes time. And trust me, I'm not happy that it takes time. I would love for that stuff to happen today. But what these policies are going to affect is they're going to give jobs to your children. They're going to give jobs to your grandchildren. It's not like your grandchildren are going to graduate from college and then be like, man, there's nothing to do. Let me get on food stamps. That was the Democrat plan. That was the globalist plan. That was the plan of globalization. Have your kid work in a friggin', restaurant part-time, and then be on food stamps and government assistance for the rest of their income, live in a coffin apartment. Meanwhile, people from all over the world, from the very wealthy countries, including China would be that, come here and then dine in those restaurants, treat Americans like crap, kick them a couple bucks and tip and say, get out of my face. No. America is going to be for Americans. But that does not mean like Twitter and X and a lot of these political commentators want, for some strange reason. It doesn't mean whites only. It doesn't mean nobody from any other country ever. That's not what, that is not that wasn't even the messaging that anyone with common sense, anybody like myself, had heard while Trump was campaigning. There is no way for America to step back from the world stage in that particular manner. I know people are pissed off and they're upset, and that's what I'm saying. That type of political grifting works because people are upset and they're angry right now. You have a lot of men who are disenfranchised, who have not been a part of the economy for 15, 20 years. The economy has gone in a feminized direction where HR workers, HR managers are prioritized over people who actually do the work. They're the ones who are getting $150,000 salaries just to push papers around and talk about, oh, you're naughty, you're not being nice enough to the minorities in our company. That's where the economy has been going over the last 10, 15 years. It is being corrected now with real manufacturing, with real jobs that will start to come back. But it will take 3, 4, 5 years until you actually like, whoa, we're in a friggin' fantastic economy. Like next year, it's gonna be like a little like, okay, I'm starting to feel it. Groceries are cheaper. Gas is definitely cheaper. I can actually, maybe I can go to the movies again. That's what next year is gonna be. 2027, as long as we don't have like some super crazy, military conflict, war, virus, any one of these kinds of catastrophic events, then 2027 is going to be even better than that, times probably 5. And then people are going to start having kids again. People are going to start getting settled down and having families. The plan is to build America to be what it once was, in the sense that you could come here and make a life. The American dream was available to you. So I get people are upset about the 50-year mortgages and all these other things. These are ideas that are just being spitballed by the administration to try to alleviate the pain and the pressure in a more immediate way, spreading out payments over longer periods of time so that they're more affordable and cheaper, so that you're not having to reach such a high threshold just for approval of a loan. I get that it could become predatory. That's what Wall Street does. That's what these investment bankers do. They're always going to be predators. They're sharks. They're always going to try to take advantage of and screw over the average everyday person. But the idea itself is not meant to just screw you over. I don't believe so. I don't sense any malice. I don't see any malice in the way that they're trying to implement these policies. But that does not mean that you will not have some clever Wall Street guy who comes up with a way to screw everybody over and make a whole bunch of money for himself. That can and probably will happen. But that does not mean that Trump is trying to screw you over. They're trying to figure out ways to get you that house. They're trying to find ways to get you that job. They really are. I can see it. Because it's not just a bunch of fake fluff. It's not just juicing the economy short term so that everybody can think that this person is a great president in the short term. Trump wants to be known as a great president for the next 50 to 100 years. He wants to be George Washington-esque. So, oops, there we go. So please don't engage in that kind of nonsense. So now we're going to watch this thing that I wanted to watch this live stream from a couple of days ago. This creator is Talk to Me Taylor. She's actually like I've been enjoying her stuff. I ran across her where she did a interview sit down with Hotep Jesus, and so I love Hotep Jesus. I love that whole thing. So I was like, oh, who's this person? So I decided to watch her. I'm gonna watch the live stream because she talks about I was communicating with her and we share a similar opinion on the whole Nick Fuentes thing, and not Tucker Carlson, but Nick Fuentes more specifically. And I know Ben Shapiro's freaking out about Nick Fuentes. I'm like, well, he's acting 100% like one of those model UN kids from high school. And Nick Fuentes is acting like one of those kids who wanted to be in model UN so bad, but he's just such a bad boy. They didn't want him in the model UN. It's just like the battle of the nerds. And somehow Nick Fuentes has tapped into the zeitgeist of most white males in a way that, like, I think is I'm not nervous about it. I'm not scared about it. I'm not. Most black people would be like, oh my God. And the Democrats would be like, oh my God, racism. Racism is a natural part of life. I'm not concerned about racism. What I think is so destructive about it is that it's like akin to what happened on January 6th. It's akin to the QAnon movement. It's like, let's go in this direction full force with emotion because we feel a certain way. And then, oops, we're in this situation. And then lo and behold, all you guys go to jail, but I don't. If you don't know, Nick Fuentes was there on January 6th inciting people to go inside of the Capitol. He never got arrested. He never got interviewed. He never got targeted by the FBI. Why? I don't understand that. And he wasn't a nobody at that time either. So I knew about Nick Fuentes back then. Why didn't Nick Fuentes go to jail? Owen Schroyer never told anybody to go inside the Capitol. He went to jail. They tried to throw Alex Jones in jail, and he was like, don't go in the Capitol. Nick Fuentes told people to go in the Capitol, but he's didn't spend a day in jail. So that's interesting. And then people think that he's some kind of, hero because some crazy nut showed up at his doorstep who had just killed a couple people previously and was possibly trying to kill him, but didn't actually even get inside the door. So yeah, I'm not really sold on it. I think there's something shady. There's something weird going on with the whole Fuentes thing. So we'll talk about it. But Talk to Me Taylor, she has this whole thing. So we're just going to go through her live stream and, comment on it as we go. Here we go.
My people.
They might flash you unattended.
Random baby.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
Let's address the elephant in the room. That's not the elephant in the room. There's no elephant. Nobody cares.
I, too, am a thought criminal. Good. Well, I like you already.
Does this look like a girl who's joking around?
No.
But how much do you actually understand money? Especially the new wave. Beauty or intelligence. When you unleash both, it is men's kryptonite. Welcome to Talk to Me, Taylor. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Who are the clowns and the jokers? I feel like the clowns right now are the conservatives just straight up having a civil war. And the jokers are the incels on the internet that I managed to unearth and get all riled up again. And here we are, rising from the ashes like Teen Vogue won't. Okay, guys, the world is falling apart. The men, the conservatives, New York City, the capitalist epicenter of the world, gone socialist. Like everything is just falling apart. And here we are. You can get in right in, just tuck right in here, right in the bosom, for some sensibility, of course, and comfort, and reason. So where do I begin?
Yeah, I do have to say, it's like, as a man, the no offense to women, but women's voices, they're not necessarily. I'm like, oh, I'm not tuned in, but I will tune in for some chesticles. I'll say that the cleavage is making the. It's keeping my concentration, on the topic at hand. So.
Everybody. I may look refreshed, by the way. Don't be fooled because I am blonde again and I no longer look like a sewer rat in Mom Dami's like socialist grocery store crawling out of the moldy spinach. But do not be fooled by the new blonde hair because I'm still brain dead. Okay. Like taking in this world, how could we not be? So, first things first, while this episode is going to be about everything falling apart, we had more optimism than that, soldiers. Am I right? Lady soldiers, male soldiers. I'm sorry, David Goxie, that you let me on the air tonight because truly I fucking don't give a fuck anymore. Did you guys see my new reel? That song is a masterpiece. It is catchy. I have it stuck in my head. Anyway, I'm a little delulu. It is fucking daylight saving. So twilight is starting at like 3 p.m. Like our internal clocks are not okay. And so here we are. But the world is falling apart. Okay. And where I'm going to take all of this in the end is as we sort through it in our little corner on the web, that is much as deranged as we are much more coherent than the ramblings of the likes of Candace Owens and co, right? We're going to get to that. But really about picking our battles because the internet makes it feel like it is everything everywhere all at once. We cannot escape it, almost like your mom asking you why you're not making more money or your dad asking, why are you posting those bikini shots? Like it is like up your ass and you're like, let me be internet, but it feels so real, right? Like even looking at the incels of it all, which we're going to get to, like how real is this? Is it bots? Like it's starting to feel all one, like the Matrix come to fucking life. And guess what? It's going to get even more batshit crazy with AI when we're really not going to know what the fuck is up. So today I'm going to bring it all back in the end. You talk about a civil war and I say like armor up because when do you know how to pick your battles and how to not? Because if you pick every battle, you're just going to be crazy giving straitjacket vibes like I am right now in this episode. So kind of discerning and knowing when to fight the fight, when to have skin in the game, a dog in the race, and also kind of the swagger of watching everybody like almost giving Mean Girls, like it's like you're the Regina George watching everybody tear each other's hair out in the chaos, like almost above it all, and just watching all of them like be little peasants and sort it out, like almost like the Hunger Games. Like, is there something also to just being above it all and not even giving it more life or oxygen? You know what I'm saying? We're going to get to that. So first things first is Teen Vogue, okay, who is oxygen deprived. Like they're not going to make it. They're not, the heart monitor is not looking good. So Teen Vogue officially basically is no more. They have now gone into like dissolved into Vogue. I don't even know what.
Well, we don't care about Teen Vogue. Let's see. I think she starts talking about stuff at the end here.
This like national movement. Like I have seen memes, I have seen this, I have seen that. And again, you guys know I did a Substack about this, how conservatives have like, a serious case of amnesia because Sydney Sweeney is so sexualized. And if it weren't for-
oh, she's talking about the Sydney Sweeney thing. She's basically saying if Sydney Sweeney weren't supporting conservative ideas and viewpoints, although the whole right, the conservatives would be basically slut shaming her for being overly sexualized. I want to get to the Nick Fuentes incel part.
Little boy thing of like being so, how Portnoy speaking out, being like, yeah, so this isn't normal. Queen of the universe. But what they do have in common is they say really obscure, outlandish shit, piss people off, super soundbitey, and they hate Jews. Basically in Israel. Like, did I miss anything? Anybody in class? Which is what's so crazy, right? Because they all like it's crazy that hate for Jews is it's actually not. Why am I surprised? Even Dave Portnoy speaking out, being like, yeah, so this isn't normal. Like the amount of like basically hate I'm getting for being a Jew on the daily. Like, Mom Donnie, explain yourself. But Mom Donnie's like, what? What? Nothing to see here. What, 9/11? No, no, guys, no. What? Good people on both sides, right? But how the three of them, they have such different ideologies. I mean, even like when you take marriage, right? Like Candace and Tucker are in very traditional Christian marriages, and from my understanding and just again from following them and observing them, it seems like they have a very mutual adoration and respect between man and wife. Tucker obviously loving and respecting his wife. I think Candace Owens' husband with her, that kind of thing, like really a partnership and a team where Nick Fuentes is like, women should shut the fuck up. Don't like very kind of Andrew Tatey, like this, we're going to get to it, but this little boy thing of like being so insecure that it's like you have to assert yourself as a big bad man over a woman. It's like, who hurt you, sweetie? Who hurt you? You can get, if you need a hug, talk to me. Taylor is here. Okay. So that kind of thing doesn't seem like it gels with them. Even that example, right? They're all very, America first and nationalists, like very much so. So but and it's okay. Like I've said, you can have your disagreements and still be cool and still be chill. That's why when the conservatives were losing their minds, that Tucker platform, Nick Fuentes, I was like, what happened? You guys were supposed to be against like woke cancel culture and all about free.
See, this is I want to make my stance on this guy, little Nick Fuentes, very, very clear. I know Alex Jones has been having Nick Fuentes on quite a bit because he tries to be in tune with the zeitgeist. Gavin McGinnis, they're all friends with Nick Fuentes. I'm sure in real life and in person, he's a reasonable person. But this character that he plays, it's like Alex Jones 4.0, not afraid to say all the things that are actually, he's like Alex Jones in his prime. Alex Jones used to say all types of stuff, but the economics of the situation weren't as bad as they are now. The reason why, like I said before, I played all those economics clips prior because I wanted to set the stage for what is actually happening within MAGA right now. MAGA is pissed. Nice chest. That is, yeah, that's looking good. MAGA is pissed because we have been screwed over for 40 plus years of this plan to globalize the economy and send all of the stuff, the manufacturing overseas. Trump first term, his whole message was to bring all that stuff back. Now, because of the culture wars, because of the war that DC, the swamp, the Democrats, the globalists, the entire global order and cabal waged on Trump, that had been postponed. We are 10 years past the point when Trump came down the escalator. That was 10 years ago, guys. 10 years ago. So I understand why everybody is impatient. Someone like Nick Fuentes 10 years ago was 17 years old. 17 years old. So when you have all the people who were 17 years old when Trump first started running and now they're 27, almost 30, and they still don't have an economic solution to their problems. They still don't have a woman in their life that they're planning on getting married to and having children with. They still don't have the pathway to home ownership. They're still living like kids in a dorm room, roommating with multiple other guys because there's nothing else you can do. Everybody's still living like kids in this disrupted environment. So, what's the name of that show? I say this all the time. It's God, now it's slipping my mind, but it's like all the Disney adults. It's like they've been stunted. And so everybody in our economy has also been stunted as well. The promises, the plans, the hopes and dreams and wishes that the boomers were able to have and the silent generation was able to have post World War II, that we have been promised, the American dream has been taken away from us and hasn't even really truly been here. in 20 years. And so Gen Z is pissed. Gen Z is mad, and they're looking for somebody to blame. They're looking for something to point to. Nick Fuentes is a smart enough kid where he understands that's why the Jew hatred sentiment happened in Eastern Europe in the late 20s and the 30s. I mean, it's like it's the history repeating itself because it's an easy scapegoat target. Oh, here's a group of successful people. Meanwhile, everybody else is getting screwed. But correlation and things aren't necessarily there that are there. It's a combination of internet culture, internet conspiracy theories, economic hardship, economic, disparity, people not having a vision for the future, people not having these natural progressions in human life. Like you hit stages. There's certain things that you have to go in through life so that you can move to the next level. Men, I say this all the time, men don't have rites of passage that are just naturally ingrained into our biology. Women, however, do. So women become women as soon as they start menstruating, right? When does a man become a man? When does a man become a man? And because this is not outlined by society, and because for some reason I was wise enough at an earlier age to realize that society doesn't outline these things for us, I was like, dude, the only way to become a man for me is to engage in something that taps into your humanity and your manliness. So I did martial arts. I did mixed martial arts. I got in the cage. I had actual fights. Those things so that I realized what I'm afraid of and what I'm not afraid of. Men need rites of passage, and everybody, even when you're beyond the point of reaching adulthood, you also need other rites of passage. Women, traditionally it was having a kid. Men, it was getting married, having a family. These certain rites of passage that move you into a more mature state of mind. That's why you have the left with 40-year-old women voting for abortion when it's like, you don't even need an abortion. Like, why are you in full-throated support of like 10-month late-term abortion? It's like because they're people who still think that they're in their 20s mentally, because they've rejected all of the rites of passage that move you through this kind of biological transformation, the spiritual and emotional transformation that turn you into a bigger, better, greater person. That's why. And so the powers that be, the malicious powers that be, the people, the controllers of our society, whether it was purposeful or unpurposeful, them destroying the American economy and the American system and the way of life has led to this point where Americans have not gone through these rites of passages, and now grown men are turning into these incels in their basement that listen to guys in the manosphere like Myron Gaines. And I don't have anything against Myron Gaines per se. I think he's smarter than he looks, but the same thing, the Jew hatred, the hatred of women, listen, there's plenty of things you can say about women, bro. You can say all types of things about women and not be wrong. There's a lot of things that women can say about men too, but it's like, that is not helping that young man progress in his life. It's just making that man more angsty against women, and so I don't know, man. It's like the pendulum keeps swinging. It's swung this way, now it's swung that way, and we have to find some kind of equilibrium. But in the meantime, we're stuck with these pundits and commentators that, and this is the thing, if Nick Fuentes was only that, he wouldn't have been on Tucker Carlson. The reason why he was on Tucker Carlson is because he's smarter than that. He's actually capable of moving the political discussion in more progressive directions. So haven't seen Tucker Carlson talk to Myron Gaines. What for? Why? Like, I don't think Tucker Carlson even talked to Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate's not really involved in politics. He's more like a cultural, whatever figure. The reason why Tucker talked to Nick is because their agenda is essentially aligned in the sense that they want to get rid of a group within politics that is influencing decision-making and policy. Now, whether they're right or wrong is not for me to decide. But the panic and the freak out from those very same people that Nick and Tucker are talking about is not helping their cause. Let's put it like that. Ben Shapiro acting like a little whiny, nerdy, weird kid isn't making anybody want to side with him any more than it did before. And so the whole incel thing is coming about because of economics. Everything is motivated by economics. Everything that we do in society is economics. Everything. You don't go to that restaurant, you go to this restaurant. Not just because the food is better or worse, but because, man, there's no parking spots. So there's less availability. So I don't actually want to go there, or the time period isn't good, or they don't have this, or they don't. We're motivated by supply, demand. We're motivated by what's going to reward us the most, the quickest. That's how our society moves. And so these young men have not been rewarded. They voted for Trump en masse, and they don't think they're getting anything from it. That's what's going on. But what it's warping into in a weird, perverted way is into this Western version of radical Islam. This Western version where it's like, and radical Islam, we know, has no love for women. It has no love for balance or protecting the weak, in a sense. It doesn't care about those things. It cares about the dominance of strong men and making men have a place in society that they don't necessarily deserve. It's not the marketplace of ideas, right? And so that is what is also being created on the right. And my big problem with Fuentes is he claims to be a Catholic. Like, I don't know when Catholicism started to become the dominant religion in this country. People didn't want JFK to be president because he was Catholic. People fled to this country and started settlements because they were trying to flee Catholicism. Like, I mean, this country was founded on Protestant Quaker ideas. And now all of a sudden we have this guy who's saying, I'm America first, but I'm Catholic and you should be Catholic. It's like, what? The Pope is the enemy of Western culture and free societies. But okay, whatever. Keep spouting that bull crap because it sounds cool to a lot of old, young men. The denomination that young men are flocking to more than any other Christian denomination right now is the Orthodoxy. And it's because it's very structured. It has very solid rules. Men want discipline. We want order. Okay, that's what I meant by rites of passage. When men don't go through rites of passage, they don't understand how to be men, and they don't understand how to order and organize themselves. So you have a bunch of Cheeto-eating, Hot Pockets loving, basement dweller type men, even the guys who, you know, maybe they go out and work, maybe they go out and they go to the gym, maybe they're somewhat productive on some level, but they don't have enough of a focus in their lives to be the leaders in their own lives. So now they start clinging to this man who doesn't have any of the qualities that they claim that they want. It's the same thing that I saw with Andrew Tate. Anyway, I'm taking up too much time ranting here. I want to get back to what this lovely lady is talking about.
Speech, who cares? You know what's funny? It's sort of similar to the dudes who are so insecure. It's like conservatives. If you're that insecure about your ideas that you think someone like a Nick Fuentes is going to dethrone you, like, we have bigger fish to fry. But it's like, if you're secure and you have that big dick energy and you're like, no, we're good in our ideas, like, we're convicted and, you know, we're standing in them. What do you care about a little dweeb like Nick Fuentes, right? Like, what does that have on you? So all of that to say, it is, and it's like, be about it, like, walk the walk, and God forbid, no one's saying that Nick Fuentes has to represent all of you guys. And it's like, he has his speech, he has his platform, he has every right to it. Okay, have bigger, louder, stronger speech, like, not hard. But yes, how they all do come together in ways that I'm sure the simps on the internet come to their ideas about basically just like ragging on Jews. But what you have here is, because it's also crazy because Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes had a big feud, and now Nick's like, it's all cool, and now they're kind of like coming together, right? And we know that this is undercover actually, but not so much, because they could give a fuck. Why? In their agreement about that very idea. Like, Jews suck, they're evil, they're running everything, and Israel can get fucked and fuck off and all that. You get it. So we'll see. Mark my words, like they will be braiding each other's hair in 5 seconds. And no, that wasn't a racial thing about Candace and braiding her hair because she's black. Okay. Hotep and I, we sorted all that out in our rep last week, as you know. No, but so you have Alex Clark, who is a huge host of Turning Point. Like basically at Turning Point USA, she hosts the Culture Apothecary. Charlie Kirk was like her mentor, and the reason that she blew up. But she is putting Candace Owens on absolute blast and poking holes through all the reasons Candace Owens has grifted on the Charlie Kirk death, has lied, has insinuated all these crazy conspiracies. And I've said this too from the jump around Charlie Kirk's death, namely by those in his closest orbit and circle, like that, like just what she does with Israel too, like the gaslighting, like all these sinister, dark, ominous things. But it's like, well, no, I never said that. So Alex Clark calling her out like line by line, which is iconic. Then you have Brett Cooper, she left Daily Wire. She's the very popular, very young. I've met Brett. I met her last year, I think. Very sweet. 23. She's a baby. Host of the Comments Section, which is a very popular show. She and Ted Cruz going at it. And this is a good example too, guys, of what happens when the pendulum swings so hard that it is like that pirate ship ride at the carnival. But this shit, like there was a loose screw. There was probably a DEI hire on that construction site and the ship just straight up goes upside down on accident. Like that's what I'm talking about with this swing. Because basically what Brett Cooper is doing is it's a version of what I said in that conservatives are canceling and becoming a version of the left in that. But she calls Ted Cruz out for calling Nick Fuentes a Nazi and basically saying essentially saying you're going to be like the left now and just call everyone a Nazi and all this and all that. And the thing with Ted Cruz though is he's like, okay, but Nick Fuentes like calls himself a Nazi and says that he loves Hitler. So like there's that little part. The problem with, I get what Brett Cooper is doing, but the problem with it is that there is, again, it's such a swing that it's like we're so anti-cancel culture because we've been at the brunt of it and have been persecuted for so long that now we can't criticize or scrutinize or say anything because see, it'll be us doing it and it'll be cancel culture. And it's like, whoa. So it's like, it's not that simple. Like you can still call someone out or, whatever, disagree or
So what she's talking about is like, I don't know if anybody knows who Brett Cooper is, but she's, she used to work at the Daily Wire. And then she came out with a video after Ted Cruz called Nick Fuentes a little Nazi. And to be fair, Ted Cruz, she was calling out the hypocrisy because Ted Cruz posted something after Charlie Kirk got assassinated that said, first they call you a Nazi so that they can kill you. And then so for him to turn around less than a month and a half later and then call Nick Fuentes a Nazi, it did reek of hypocrisy. However, Nick Fuentes is literally will call himself a Nazi. He doesn't care. He'll say whatever. He'll wear that badge proudly. And so, but my thing is this, the lobby, the political side of things that doesn't like Nick Fuentes' speech, Nick Fuentes is very easily defeated. In fact, I don't think that he will be as popular next year as he is this year. The solution to a Nick Fuentes is economic solutions. Men who don't have a solution to provide for their family become either criminals or they start wars. Historically, that's how that happens. And since these guys can't start a war, they're going to start a war online by any means necessary. They're going to call people names. They're going to say slurs, be anti-Semitic, be racist just for the fun of it. When most of these guys, you see them in real life and they don't really hold those values. They might hold them, in their head in a mental place, but they're not going to sit there and like do violent acts because of this, most of them. But they'll act weird towards you or something because that's how they're thinking. And to me, the reason why Trump got the reason why Trump won the presidency, despite the media talking about how racist Trump was or how anti-Semitic Trump was, even though his daughter is married to an Orthodox Jewish man and converted and okay, whatever. And Trump's been around New York Jews his whole life. The reason why he got elected, despite all that talk, was because everybody's known who Trump is for 40 years. He is Americana, and Americana is a melting pot. Whether you want to say that is not the case or whatever. This purity test, this anger about H-1B visas, we've already been over that with Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent laid out a really important point why H-1B visas are necessary. Because y'all dum-dums don't have the education and the skill set. Y'all did not go to college for this. Y'all did not get the training for this. Meanwhile, while you wanted to get your business degree, these guys were over here getting engineer degrees. So that's why. That's the big difference. And not only do they have the degrees, they have the actual working knowledge. So that's the reason. It's not because we hate Americans and we want to give jobs to foreigners. It's so that the foreigners can come over here, teach us the skills that we shipped overseas 50 years ago and give them back to us so that your kids, or if you're young enough, in a few years, you can do that job. It's a temporary thing. But because of all the outrage, because of the economic disparity, because we had 4 years of Biden, because the Democrats have created this weird, twisted, upside down world society where a man is a woman and a woman is a man, and we don't know where we're at, and just regular guys just want to live in a regular world, and they see that women have been captured by this media Democrat left-wing nonsense. Most women have been captured by it. This animosity has been created, and Nick Fuentes is just fueling that animosity. He's just pumping that air blower. And so Tucker Carlson doesn't think like that. He's a grown man. He's in his 50s. He has kids. He has a family. He's experienced all those things. He understands. And anybody who has a family and who's been through those things understands that, dude, we don't need to burn the house down. We need to save this part of the house. We need to extinguish the fire. We don't need to burn the whole freaking house down. But you have a lot of young men in their 20s, their teens, and in their early 30s who feel disenfranchised. And that's where this is coming from. And so Ted Cruz attacking Nick Fuentes on the basis of his speech when the speech is not the root cause of the problem is like idiotic. And it just makes the problem worse. If you're trying to make the problem worse, then you're doing an excellent job. If that's what these people like Ben Shapiro are trying to do, then you're keep it up, I guess. But if you're trying to resolve the issue, talk to the issue. Say, yeah, men, I hear you. There ain't much going on for you right now. We need to give you what you deserve, an opportunity to make it in this world. But it's going to take some time. But see, that's not what's going on. And so politics isn't about that. Politics is about the emotions of the moment and feeding upon them and making things happen. That's why the French Revolution became so bloody, because nobody was willing to step back for 2 seconds and go, wait a second. If we do this, don't you think it'll result in something worse? No. Nobody sat there and said that. So politics is about the emotions of the moment. And that's why I'm trying to give some kind of like clarity, some kind of calmness to the situation. I know most of the older generation doesn't even know who Nick Fuentes is. And if they saw him or heard him, they'd be like, this guy's disgusting. How could anybody listen to him? But you're talking about younger men who are more irreverent. Their sense of humor is more irreverent. Their feelings and their sentiments towards society are less positive, and they didn't have the same life experiences that you do. And so most boomers are going to be like, this is crazy. How could this guy even exist? Well, for the younger generation, including young women, too, they feel like they've been sold out by politicians their whole lives. And they have great reason to feel like that. And so the idea of giving Trump a chance or giving him time or whatever, and the main thing is, this is the main strip of motivation that they can keep pointing to, is the Epstein thing. And where does the Epstein thing go to? And why is Trump trying to cover up for Epstein? Listen, we're going to talk about that in a different episode, but let's just finish.
Or that. And it's not necessarily the cancel culture like Gina Carano level or somebody like losing their agency or their jobs or their sponsorships or whatever brand deals. You know what I mean? So that's where again it's just gone a little hard. And yeah, and like I said, basically the rest of it is the most majority of conservatives or the MAGA folk, if you will, versus this likely but unlikely trifecta of Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and Nick Fuentes. And I think too, with Nick and Candace, like I was saying before, I think Tucker really, I mean, Tucker has a street cred for decades of questioning, of kind of saying loony stuff, or really kind of airing stuff out with leaders around the world, for years. With Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes, I really do want to. That's why I would love to speak with one of them. Like how much of it is just to get a rise out of people for viewerships. I read a really interesting piece too about how the algorithm rewards you for staying on your narrative. But if you say something that maybe that's why I'm just getting lost in the depths of SEO hell, because I won't be confined to a box or pander to a certain thing. I change, I evolve. I can say both things can be true at the same time. But you'll lose viewership if you throw a wrench in of something that's contradictory to your prior narratives, right? So I do think that those two are just like, it's the art of the grift, full stop. And again, even Alex Clark calling out Candace Owens is a perfect example of that. I mean, we all saw it. Like anyone with a brain is like, this is just marketing 101, grifting on Charlie Kirk's death. And Candace Owens was putting on this whole song and dance about how she was mourning and she was so distraught and she couldn't do any interviews. But how dare the people at Turning Point, they're all like conspiring and covering up and all this, only for us to find out that she did an interview with CNN like 2 days prior, like in that window. And meanwhile, Alex Clark, who she called out for being icky and all this, waited to do a piece that honored Charlie Kirk in the Wall Street Journal like a week later or something. So, and then we also saw the email in which Candace Owens' team approved of CNN asking about Charlie Kirk. And Candace said, like, I never said that was okay. So just again, like all these lies and the people who believe it. So I guess that's what brings me to what's going on with men, guys. Oh my goodness, right? And
So what she just said was actually pretty important. I don't know, man. Candace Owens, I don't even feel like I can really it's neither here nor there for me. I don't know, man. There's something about Candace Owens that I just don't really care about. I understand that she's done what she's done. Kudos to her being successful. I don't know. But she's right. It's like there's a huge grift going on and people are just taking advantage of emotions and sentiments that are happening, that are out there. And it's really unfortunate. And this is the point that needs to be made. Whenever people get into the establishment, like for example, the heads of Turning Point USA or the people who start to say the things that keep sponsors, if you're more concerned about keeping sponsors than quote unquote telling the truth, which, who knows what the hell that is. But if you're saying sponsor friendly things just to the average Gen Zer, the average Gen Zer, because of their disposition, they're going to think that your establishment, you're fake and you suck. And then to the conspiracy-minded, the conspiratorial group that Candace Owens has those in every age range, across the map, and then mostly women. But to the conspiratorial-minded, when you say things in a very PR-friendly, sponsor-friendly way, like everybody at Turning Point is going to do because the leader, spokesperson of Turning Point is no longer there anymore. So they're really just... it's in a conservatorship. It's being preserved at this point. It's going to grow in a sense, but it's also just going to stay and remain and just be a preserved political nonprofit organization that's on the right. It's just, that's what it is now. It is a business now. It's the face and the soul is gone. And so that's what's going to happen. So anytime anybody from Turning Point says something or releases a statement, it's going to sound corporate-y. It's going to sound bullshitty. And so Candace just jumps on top of that, dude, and then tries to convince her audience, oh, these people aren't real. They're phonies, you know, and it's like that works on most people because most people don't have companies or businesses of their own. They didn't build anything that has, you know, that's going to take a lot to be torn down. They're not concerned about making a wrong statement, you know, and then losing their entire infrastructure. Candace knows the Turning Point is that situation. And so it's almost like she's taking shots at somebody who can't really strike back. So that's all I'm going to say on that. But here she goes. She's going to talk about men, and I think I'm going to agree with a lot of what she has to say. It's another 10 minutes of her talking, and that's about it. And then we will be wrapped up on this episode of Black Rant.
They actually believe this. You know, and do they believe what they say? Like the Candace Owens and all the people who believe them. So, you know, it's been quite a journey down this path because you all know I have not backed down in advocating for men, but moreover, not these like no, like for men to be good, strong, solid men. And with male impulses, it's cool. You want to check out a girl with hot tits? Okay, it's all right. You know, or be like assertive or aggressive or whatever it is. Not too, you know what I'm saying? But like, yes, for men to be men. And I did it when it was unpopular, and I did it in Hollywood, and I did it when I was a red carpet reporter, and I did it on the heels of Me Too at red carpets and events when men were like deemed, you know, the reason for all evil and suffering in the world. And there were all these female events of like women and their voices. I asked the people on the red carpet, I was like, where are the men? Shouldn't they be the ones hearing this? So needless to say, I mean, guys, I defended Morgan Freeman when people tried to throw him under the bus for Me Tooing me. And by people, I mean like actual big outlets in the media. I defended Dave Portnoy and had him on my show. Same thing when Business Insider was doing hit pieces on him on cases where they were trying to make him out to be a Harvey Weinstein. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's obviously not what happened here. So needless to say, that is where I stand, okay? And I have seen now three times a charm, the crawling out of the sewers of their gaming headphones in some rotting Stranger Things upside down basement of the incels. First was 2 years ago when I talked about Andrew Tate on my show. I don't know how their followers are so committed. And there's part of me that's like, no, they have to be bots, right, guys? They're bots. They're bots, right? How are they even finding this shit? And they defend these guys like to the death. I'm like, do you think Andrew Tate gives a fuck about you? Okay, so Andrew Tate, then last year when I was on the Whatever podcast and went toe to toe with them, how could we forget? And now speaking up about Nick Fuentes. And specifically when Hotep Jesus and I were joking about him having little dick energy, thus being so insecure about any minority group, being around Black people, women. He's like, all Black people need to go to jail. All women need to shut the fuck up, yada, yada, right? So I have gotten a slew of, again, how they find this. And they have this like slang. It's so weird and culty. They call Nick Fuentes the emperor, just like they called Andrew Tate, what was it? They called it, I forget. You guys may know. They called him something too, and they blew up my comments with it. But not only do they worship these guys like minions, but their brains are too dense. I don't even want to throw around hating words like stupid, even though I kind of just did. I'm not going to stoop to that level, okay? But their brains are too dense to realize that when we say things like, you know, it's giving little dick energy and all this, to not see what that really means and how it's a proxy to being so insecure that you can't even respect a woman, respect women.
So let me just stop her right there. It's like I said before, it is economic. Okay. Like Nick Fuentes yearns and talks to his followers about yearning for a time like back when women couldn't get their own credit cards or bank accounts. Like if you yearn for a time, and dude, listen, women have a lot of shortcomings, bro. Men have a lot of shortcomings too, but I do not yearn for a time when the economic playing field is so skewed where a woman has to rely on me or a man in general. I don't want to go back to that place. And so I'm telling you, these solutions that are so backwards are being brought up because of the economic failings of policies that have been put in place for 50 plus years. Men now are feeling it because they cannot contribute to society. So all they know how to do is worship a man that they see is contributing to society. This guy preaches to them about stop watching porn, which is a good thing, fair. Okay, stop doing this, get off your butt, run a business, become an alpha male, all this stuff. And most of these guys can't actually do that because not everybody's an alpha male. If everybody was a friggin' alpha male, you wouldn't call it an alpha male. You would just call it a male. Not everybody can be an alpha male. And so what these guys do is then they just put on the uniform, the mask of being an alpha male. They just imitate someone like an Andrew Tate. And by the way, I don't even really have anything against Andrew Tate. I actually think that he was a better version than Nick Fuentes, at least. Nick Fuentes is like, man, we really, these men really need help. They're very desperate. It's desperation, but it's been created by the feminization of our economy, where the types of jobs that are high paying, you have to be in an environment that it's not conducive to real, strong, manly kind of behavior, things that most guys want to do. Sit in an office all day, in a cubicle all day, have somebody tell you what to do via email and get henpecked virtually on an email all day. It's like, that is the thing that women are better suited for, right? And that's why they've been excelling and making more money than guys, because they can sit there at a job for 5-6 years, even though they hate it, because there's a communal aspect to it. There's something that men, when we're done, we're done. What'd you say to me? I'm out of here. What'd you just say to me in that email? I felt the aggression in the email. Screw you. Let's talk about this right now, face to face. But that's not how corporate culture is. Corporate culture is masking everything with some jargon line and bullshit. And most men don't want to be in corporate culture. So most men were not taught, hey, get a skill, get a trade, do something where you can always make money and you don't have to have a boss. That's not what men were taught. They went to school, they got their degrees in something that is absolutely asinine, where they still got to suck up to the corporate ladder. They still got to bow down to that, overweight HR lady. That's the culture that we're in. And that's what's created this incel culture, where you've got grown men, not just teenage men, but grown men who are incels. And it's the desperation. So they seek some kind of leadership. And it is desperate. It is pathetic. Like, to me, Nick Fuentes, bro, I mean, good God, dude. In the 90s, a kid like that would get stuffed in a locker. That's all I have to say. He would get stuffed in a locker. All of a sudden, he's, because he says all the things that all these, desperate, economically disparate and despairing men want to hear. They want to get their aggression out somewhere. Men are naturally aggressive creatures. They got to get it out somewhere. And that's the problem with Nick Fuentes. He doesn't know what kind of pot he's stirring. I don't think he really understands. I think all he cares about is, his vengeance. And I don't even think that he's doing it for American reasons. I think because it's honestly, this is why, and I used to get mad about this when I was younger. I was like, why is politics just dominated by old men, and old women too? But it's like the older you get, the more you realize, hey, we all got to come together. We can't make something happen unless we have a consensus here. There is no just one dominant side and one dominant force that makes this country move and go together, or makes a community move and go together. There has to be a consensus. There has to be multiple groups that come together, because not everybody has everything, right? We don't live in this old time of feudalism where we just had feudal lords that just ran everything and dominated everybody from the top down. That's not where we live anymore. And so if you want to be involved in politics, you might fight or create controversy to get into the politics or to gain power in politics like Trump did. But then once you're in there, it is about consensus. You have to get along with people. You have to, bro, because there's somebody over there has something that you need or want, and you don't always have the leverage to get it no matter what. And so, like I said, Nick Fuentes' tactics are either he knows and we're just, I don't know, or he doesn't know and it's extremely short-sighted. Anyway, let me let this Talk to Me Taylor keep talking.
The counterpart and be just a good, again, solid, strong man. And again, it's like you're so weak and so fragile that, and again, this is one of those times where it's like they make me sound like a liberal, right? Which is so funny too, because in the comments are like, oh, every feminist liberal says this. I'm like, if you watch 1 ounce of my content, you would know. So that's first off. But again, like I said earlier, this sort of thing of like, if you respect a woman as your equal, like you're lesser than. It's like, it's so backwards, but they really believe this. It's like, you're weak. You're weak if you are equal to them. Or
well, this is what she's saying is it's like this whole idea of, well, I don't bow down to a woman. Right? That's a man who's never been in a positive relationship with a woman. That's the only way you could believe that, is if you've never had a positive relationship with a woman. So take Andrew Tate, for example. The only reason why I give Andrew Tate way more credit than Nick Fuentes is because Andrew Tate has actually had multitudes of gorgeous women around him, and he did not look extremely uncomfortable. But that attitude, the thing that he's preaching, is something that only the 1% people with his lifestyle can really understand. You have a lot of women around you that aren't really there because they love you and they want to support you. They're there because you got a lot of money. And so he's preaching a doctrine to kids who don't have a lot of money, that you treat women, the ones who come around, the gold diggers, you treat them like this. But it's like most guys that watched Andrew Tate weren't going to be hounded by women like that because they don't have no money. So it's like the reason why a woman is talking to you and trying to connect with you is not the same reason that a woman is trying to connect with Andrew Tate. So but these are young guys who can't, they just hear something. Oh, that's totally true. Because I remember what it was like when I was a young man. I was a teenager in my 20s. Women, it's the game of matching up is about who is the top. When in reality, anybody who's been married and knows and sees people go through life, and you see people you went to high school with and who they actually got with, it's not about who's the top. But when you're dating, it's like who's the sexiest and the hottest, and women are going to try just through a biological imperative to get with the most dominant man, and men by a biological imperative are going to try to get with the hottest woman, right? But that's not reality. Not everybody's there. And so Andrew Tate is talking from a perspective of a man who has millions of dollars in his bank account. You do not, little kid. You don't. So that rhetoric doesn't make sense. It's like, and so when she's saying they sound stupid, they sound like idiots, it's like, well, they kind of are. It's like if I listened to somebody all day long who was a billionaire and was like, well, if all you got to do is just rent out 5 mansions and then make sure, buy 5 mansions and then just rent them out and then, transform your bank accounts and put them in Switzerland. If I listened to somebody like that all the time, and then when somebody asked me, hey, do you have a couple $100? I'd be like, no, I put it in a Swiss bank account. I'm going to buy a mansion. It's like that would be delusional behavior. It's the same thing with the manosphere, dude. You have a couple of guys who are making a lot of money. They have experiences with women. And then those experiences are then projected out there, and young men have similar experiences where they don't have a lot of luck or success with women, because that's how it is. When you're a man, it's like 1 out of 10, unless you're a 6 foot, you're a football player, you're a very successful young man. Most of the time you're going to strike out 9 times out of 10. Okay, with women. That's just it's a numbers game for most men. But because that's how it is, and younger men who are raised in this new digital, society, they get rejected a couple times and they're like, oh, well, women suck. And then they hear, Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines and the Fresh and Fit podcast and the whatever podcast. And they're like, yeah, women are stupid, idiot. They suck. They don't even hold a candle to men. It's like, dude, you're talking about the top 1% of men versus your average chick. Like the whatever podcast. It's like, I laugh at that all the time. It's like, you got guys who study history and philosophy and debating, and they're debating a panel full of OnlyFans girls. I'm like, huh? Like it's like beating up a bunch of 5-year-olds, dude. It's like a grown man beating up a bunch of 5-year-olds. It's not the same thing, bro. But that's done for entertainment purposes. Why? Because those podcasts can pay those girls $5,000 to sit on a panel a piece and get berated by some guy. Like it is not reality. Okay? It's not reality, but the thing that's fueling the anger amongst these young men is their reality, which is economic disparity, which is, I can't afford a Lamborghini. So girls aren't going to like me. Andrew Tate's like, you want girls to like you, get a Lamborghini. It's like I'm just so glad I was like fully an adult and had like my own stuff going on by the time this started happening. Otherwise, I'd be screwed up too. It's sad.
Acknowledge or respect them. And it's like, yeah, it's this thing of just like that insecurity. It's like a bully, right? It's like a bully who's so hurt people. And that idea of, just why, like, and that's the whole thing of like, when I joke, like he's never gotten laid or the baby dick, it's not really about that. It's like being so rejected or scared or threatened on some level that you have to act like that. And that's what's baby dick. But they don't get that. And they see it so literally that they will literally psychobabble into oblivion and gaslight, okay, until the cows come home, right? You wouldn't even believe. One of them was like, well, Isaac Newton died a virgin and he was a genius, okay? Or like there was one that said, at least he's not, Nick Fuentes, he just speaks the truth. And at least he's not talking shit on you people being blacks and women. At least he's not talking shit about you, like, or at least he is like openly like that actually has balls. Like a loser would just like say it behind your back or not at all. And I'm like, that's balls would be not even doing it or thinking it because you have balls and you're not threatened by other people. Like the fuck, just like conservatives shouldn't be threatened by Nick Fuentes because who like what? Like, honestly, guys, be real. So that's what is so crazy. Is like they've contorted their brains and have done this like mental jujitsu to not just be like women are stupid and shut up, but to talk themselves into it with these like random, obscure ass backwards examples. And listen, if you're making fun of my background, this background sucks ass, okay? Hey guys, I see you in the comments. It looks like insane asylum, which is where we all need to be right now.
So what she's saying is very true. I would liken it to all the black women who, when Kamala Harris was running for office, it was pure projection. Pure projection. Like projecting all of your hopes and desires and wishes of what you wish it were like onto somebody else. So for example, like she gave the example of somebody saying Sir Isaac Newton was a genius or whatever. Yes, that person was a genius. You, sir, are not a genius. It's like when you use those kinds of arguments, it just really shows how stupid you are. Like they were saying Kamala Harris is the most educated, most experienced candidate of all time. It's like, dude, she was put into a bunch of different positions as an elected official. She got in, she snuck in as a senator, as like that was like a sneaky race. All the other positions that she was in, she basically came behind somebody who groomed her for that position. That does not mean she is qualified. Oh, she's the vice president of the United States. It's like, dude, she didn't do really anything as the vice president of the United States. They gave her the job of borders, being the border czar, and she didn't do anything about that. And then they turned around and said, no, she was never the border czar. It's like absolute nonsense. But it's the same thing. It's like you're a failure. So you try to dispel your failure by projecting onto the success of somebody else. all the black women who during Kamala Harris's campaign and black men or whatever, all the people on the Democrat side were trying to say that no, the Democrat system that we've created of the welfare state and the globalized economy and shipping all the jobs overseas, no, that actually worked. It did work. Look, Kamala Harris is the culmination of that success. And then she opened her mouth. And then she, oh my God, guys, my throat is a little, then she opened her mouth. Kamala Harris is the culmination of 40 years of bad economic policy. Where rich people get richer and get put into positions that they don't belong in. And people who actually might be able to get their leg up are told to go do things that put them further in debt. It worked. Meanwhile, we ship over their jobs and the jobs that their children could take to other countries because it's cheaper. That was literally the Kamala Harris campaign. It's like, let's show you how little we actually give a shit about the American people. But we're going to make you feel good. We're going to try to make all the brown people feel good about it, though, because look, that person kind of looks like you a little bit. It's a holographic card where you turn one way and she's black, you turn the other way. She's Indian, you turn the other. Like, I mean, come on, man. But it's the same kind of thing. It's like Hitler, dude. Hitler, the Aryan stereotype is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. Hitler was not blonde. He did not have blue eyes. How did that work? Because you put something out there that people can project themselves onto so that they don't have to feel the failures or the brunts of their failures. They go, that's success. I'm that. Hitler wasn't even blonde hair and blue eyes. So like what I'm saying with Nick Fuentes, it's like, how are you going to be a leader of men and you don't even have a woman, bro? How are you going to tell anybody anything about women and you haven't even been with a woman? But somehow it works because people can project and mask their failures by projecting onto success. People could say, well, Nick Fuentes may not have a woman, but I don't have a woman either, but at least he's successful and he's becoming famous for talking about and saying the things that I agree with and believe. That's how that works. It's a weird psychological trick.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy. So, like I said, okay, so this is and there's a part of me going, why am I like, these are not the men in my life. Like, think about, hopefully, if you had good ones, like your boyfriend, your husband, your dad, your grandpa. I had the best of the absolute best. I'm so lucky. But there's a part of me that's going like, why am I entertaining? Why am I even like engaging with these little boys? Right? Like, why? Because that's what I talked about at the very jump of this is same thing with like the Candace Owens look with the broken conservatives and their whole little petty wars. I'm at the point I finally stopped listening to Candace Owens because I was like, I can't like have any more. I need to have somewhat of my sanity intact. But it's kind of like, that's an example to me, at least, where everyone's tweeting, everyone's all worked up, and that's where it's like, y'all, you got to have a little separation from the internet and reality and just watch these kids, punch it out on the playground while you're up here just watching it all happen. Like, okay, guys, you do that. Again, like I said, there's sort of like a swag about that and a confidence, which I really like. And when you pick your battle, so even like with these boys on the internet, again, I don't see it in my day to day. I don't surround myself with people, but it makes me think too, like when you're out in public, the same thing could go for like a mass shooter. Like, they look normal, but do they think like this? Like, now it has me second guessing. So this is where I'm torn between going in the ring with these toddlers or just kind of sitting it out. And again, same thing, like letting it sort itself out and just being unbothered by it. But I asked today on social media, again, I've seen this now play out as somebody who's advocated for them, okay? But because they don't agree on every level or whatever, they're so insecure they need to put you down even more, or try to, these little baby bitches. These what is going on with these boys, and who is raising them, more importantly? Because look, I've spent the last 10 years of my career ragging on the media for their narratives, for groupthink, how delusional they are. But there's a part of me that's going, okay, you can only blame the media so much. And then or the internet for that matter. And I had someone write to me and say, and he's been a longtime viewer, he said, who raises these boys the internet, meme culture, and podcast hosts who overcompensate for their insecurities. There's a whole new generation of Tate Fuentes bros on the way up now. It's devastating. Totally agree. And then he said, I said I had that thought, but again, to what end? Like the parent has to see this happening, right? I'm not a parent yet, but like the fuck. He says the internet is only what we make it. It's too big and powerful to contain at this point. I'm sure some parents know, but they are clueless. So I don't really have a definitive answer for you other than, again, what to you is worth the fight. Like to me, you know, I don't even know what to say. Like incoherent and misguided articles on Teen Vogue or petty culture war fights amongst conservatives. Like to me, again, it's like, okay, little kids, like you sorted out, it's not worth it. But if this is actual, if this is, these are not bots, these are actual boys who are going to be roaming amongst us on this planet, in this world, there is a part of me that's going, it's a little alarming. It's a little alarming. So, how you discern on when to step in, step out, because you can't take everyone. But I will say this, I want to leave it with a little, actually, kudos to this woman. Okay, Evelyn Beatrice Hall, because I want to leave it with this quote that is attributed to Voltaire, but was actually written by Evelyn, his biographer, which was, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. So let that be the guiding principle. Like, just let it be. Why? Because Talk to Me Taylor said so. The end all be all, the rule of the land, okay? In this Titty Taylor tyranny. I don't know what else to say, but no, always have that as like, okay, to each their own. You're going to think that nobody should be deplatformed. Nobody should be like, it's all good. Your views just be bigger, stronger, louder. And again, guys, really think about how to pick your battles and which one, and just know that battle blonde, battling for the blonde and the boobs is here to stay. Nothing to end a somewhat serious episode on that thought. But yeah, seriously, pick your battles wisely because you can't do them all and then you'll just be tired. And we can't be having tired soldiers, soldier. So armor up, saddle up, and let's go and make it worth it and make it count. See you on Thursday.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I know exactly what the reason is. It's an economic problem. It's an economic problem. And then you have a lot of these men who didn't have fathers in their households. I mean, a lot of absentee fathers, not just for women, but for men as well. But it's economics. It's pure economics. I'd say if you had somebody like Patrick Bet-David, if you had somebody who was like a younger version of that, the problem is these Nick Fuenteses, Andrew Tates, Myron Gaines are a relief valve. They're a release valve for frustrations. And 99% of people, 90% of people aren't going to take the steps to better and improve their lives. That's the reason why, you'll have a smaller percentage of young men who look at Patrick Bet-David or, who's that guy who interviews all the rich people and he's got a huge YouTube channel. There's a few young people who will look at that and go, okay, I'm going to go do that. But 90% of them are going to go over to the Nick Fuenteses. They're going to go over to the the Andrew Tates. Because it's easier to complain than change yourself. It's easier to try to get mad at the world than to say, what am I doing wrong? What could I do better? Where are the mistakes that I made? The accountability factor. And I think if anything makes a man, it's really being able to be accountable for your mistakes, the things that you've done properly and the things that you've also done incorrectly. That's really all it comes down to right then and there. So, this is a real issue, man. It's going to be a real issue moving forward in the future. I think it's going to be corrected if Trump could actually bring in some jobs in the next couple of years, like real jobs that, are, entry level that, young men can get into and actually build a life with. So that'll drown out the Nick Fuenteses. It'll drown out the Andrew Tates, and I say Andrew Tate a little bit with a little less weight, because Andrew Tate he's more of an aspirational figure. Nick Fuentes is not aspirational at all. He doesn't have like a fancy house, a mansion, nice cars. Like, he's not living some Playboy lifestyle. He's just a guy in his basement yelling about the Jews. so and whatever, man. But it's just it's not healthy for young men to complain about what they don't have. What is healthy for men is to go and take action to get what they want. That's what men need to do. And somebody who's not doing that or encouraging men to do that is not who you should be listening to. But whatever. I like women, so I actually want to do something. I don't want to just sit there and be mad. That ain't gonna get you no women. That's not gonna get you any extra women, man. But what can one say? Anyway, thank you guys. It's been a little bit longer than the 10 minutes that I promised, but it was like 10 minutes more of her thing, but then I started ranting. But thank you guys for tuning in. Black Rant will be back with another live stream. I love you. Mwah. Black Rant is out.